I'm Joey.T.Cartoon.P, and you're watching a Cartoon Palooza editorial. This is a segment of the show where I talk about trends in news and animation, and with the Academy Award nominations out, or code for the Best Pixar Movie for Animation, let's go ahead and talk about the first animated movie to get Best Picture nomination. Beauty and the Beast is right up there in my top 5 favorite animated movies. It's a great example of how fairy tales are timeless and tales on morality for any age. But what if I told you that the movie had a big glaring issue that's plagued fans and critics alike? Chances are you probably know what it is already, but I'm gonna go into it anyways. The movie revolves around a cursed prince who transforms into a monster along with his castle and servants. It's said that the prince will regain a chance of redemption on his 21st birthday. If he can find true love before an enchanted rose wilts away, he can regain his humanity. However, this leads to the problem people have. It's revealed that it's been 10 years since the castle has been cursed. So that brings to question the prince's age when he was cursed, as an 11-year-old boy. It's said the reason the witch cursed him was because he refused to let her stay in the castle. However, if you're a kid who sees an old stranger walk up to your house, would you let them in? Probably not. Then this had me thinking about the real reason why the witch would curse the prince. I really thought about it, and you know what happens to kids at this age? It's puberty. The beast grew up hair. He's growing hair where the sun don't shine. Now that I know when it comes to theories about movies, we're living in a day and age where they're a dime a dozen. Crack.com, they've been making a career at justifying fan theories about shows and movies. Like how on Ed, Edd and Eddy, they're all dead and floating in limbo. Or how about Angelica from the Rugrats having delusions of her dead family and friends. When it comes to a theory like this, it almost seems less like speculation and more like a specific thing. I found another aspect that adds depth to my appreciation. It seems like the opening indicates that the prince would have to have been a man at the time he was cursed. However, when you go back into time, you find a lot of artwork that makes young princes seem like adults, some like King Louis of France and the more popular King Tut. So when it seems like he's already an adult at the time of the curse, the opening montage could simply owe itself to creative licensing for the sake of cultural authenticity. Wow, that was a mouthful. Then you're gonna have that one person who saw the Disney sequel, The Enchanted Christmas, where they show a fully animated segment of the curse happening. They never happened. No offense to Tim Curry, but if we're living in a day and age where Jurassic Park can retcon its franchise, I'd like to know that Beauty and the Beast sequels never happened. Then it brings the question that if the prince were young, where are his parents in all of this? And why didn't more people know about this if this were a kingdom? Actually, let's look back at another Disney movie that had a similar thing going on, like Frozen. In that movie, the king and queen die at sea, leaving an eldest daughter to inherit the throne. However, she spends most of her time in isolation due to a curse, putting most of her relationships to other kingdoms on hold. It's quite possible that the parents aren't there because in traditional Disney fashion, they died, and that people know about the prince, probably questioning why he hasn't come back to rule, and then eventually forgotten. So now that we got all that out of the way, let's talk about the actual puberty. Now you can make the connection that a witch turning a boy into a hairy beast who needs to find his true love is right off the bat a connection to puberty. It's a time when a boy or girl changes both physically and sexually in order to become an adult. Add extra points for the messed up bedroom he forbids people to enter in, and there you have it.
Were you masturbating?
But when you take all of that out of the equation, let's look at the metaphoric development of the character. Does it seem very possible that the witch wasn't cursing the prince, but actually prompting him to grow up a little faster? One of the greatest aspects to this movie are the characters, especially the beast. In a day and age where we have to rely on computer technology and motion capture to justify great character animation, it's so refreshing to see a performance drawn from paper with little reference to what an actor is doing. With this movie, we have a character who acts like a young boy conflicted with his desires and insecurities. He's acting upon impulse, not because he's an animal, but because he's dealing with change. His world has changed and he needs to make decisions on his own right. He of course has advisors to help direct him, but he's just a teenager. Teenagers like to make mistakes by trial and error for the sake of finding out who they are. You see this movie and you see a character in an identity crisis. Who is he gonna be? Will he continue to make the same mistakes despite trying to change himself? Much like any teenager who wants to become their own person, the Beast is in a situation where he has to become an actual person. If you think this is something too deep for an animated movie, get a grip on yourself. This is an Academy Award nominated film for representing the best movies of 1991. Not only do the directors make allusions to the Cousteau version of the movie, but their next movie is another mature adaptation of a darker, more adult story, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Just because a movie is animated and made in America doesn't mean it can't address serious issues. Like take for example this year, Inside Out was gonna make connections to puberty, not for the sake of a dumb joke, but because it acknowledges its character is at that stage of development. This is something I talk about more in another editorial about animation being treated as kid stuff. But above all else, Beauty and the Beast is a movie that showcases why it's a classic among the Disney fairy tale adaptations. When Walt Disney set out to make an animated movie that wouldn't just appeal to children but adults as well, fairy tales represented the perfect blend of childlike fantasy and mature themes interwoven to teach lessons of morality. On the surface, Beauty and the Beast is a fairy tale that can easily appeal to children with its cute characters and music. Beyond that, it's a story of how people find out who they are and what they will become through a series of unexpected events. So now that I shared how I truly felt watching Beauty and the Beast, I would like to know in the comments section what adult themes in any animated movie that you've seen you've enjoyed. Comment and let me know. Now I'm Joey.T.Cartoon.P, and thanks for watching this editorial on the Cartoon Palooza.